El Teatro Campesino is resistance then in the sense that we're resisting the prejudices of the past, the restrictions, on people in the past, and we wanted to create a space that could train young people to use the arts, especially theater and film, to change their lives and the lives of others.
And your brother Daniel said that he left to Delano to spend a week there to help out, and he never came home. Talk about that experience and what it was about that movement that lured you there and said, this is where I need to be.
The idea of going back to Delano to settle the score was very important to me because I was in the fields from the time almost before I could walk. I was in my mother's arms. I had already been through college. I graduated from San Jose State. I'd spent a year with the San Francisco Mime Troupe. So I went to Cesar and pitched him an idea of a theater out by and for farm workers, which became then El Teatro Campesino.
The march to Sacramento, and it's dusty trail, and then you're in the back of trucks doing your actos, and at some point when you're in the back of that truck, did you ever say to yourself, what am I doing here? I'm in the back of a truck.
There are photos of me performing on flatbed trucks, not just on the picket line, but also on the March to Sacramento. That proved to be the big game changer for us. This was in the spring of 1966. Cesar chose for us to march from Delano to Sacramento to really reclaim our rights. But basically, there were 100 farm workers that started out of Delano, including Cesar, myself, others that just began the long march. And by the time we got to Sacramento on Easter Sunday, there were 10,000. We were 10,000 strong, so union supporters, other farm workers. It was incredible. Along the way, El Teatro Campesino performed on flatbed trucks. And the use of theater, music, song in the march, as well as on those flatbed trucks, was an important element, in really capturing the excitement of that social change.
Behind you is a theater screen of Zoot Suit.
Yeah.
And you talked about the Pachuco era. In the Zoot Suit riots, it was American patriots who assaulted American citizens.
In the Zoot Suit riots and in the streets of Los Angeles in 1943, in which U.S. sailors and servicemen attacked Zoot Suiters, Mexican-American Pachucos in their Zoot Suits, and stripped them, was very much a reflex of that racist impulse. I must say that 30 years later, 38 years later, when I wrote Zoot Suit and staged it at the Los Angeles Theater Center, and so it became an instant hit. It was a psychic wound that came from racism.
The mono you're about to see is a construct of fact and fantasy. It was a secret fantasy.
This is one of the clubs that was used by a sailor who was in the streets of Los Angeles during the Zoot Suit riots in 1943. It was brought to us by his son, who was coming to see the play, and it was his form of apologizing for what he did in the Zoot Suit riots. And I think it's a wonderful gesture. It shows you that people can heal on all sides, regardless of what they did. In time literally heals.
Wow, that's incredible. Your other film, La Bamba, why do you think it resonated with everybody? I mean, even in multi-generations, my kids, I've seen it with my kids 4 or 5 times maybe.
Music is the balm of all human ills. When Richie Valens, when he came out with La Bamba, I mean, that was a shock. When I first heard La Bamba on the radio, I couldn't believe it. There's a song in Spanish being sung, and it's rock and roll. Who is this guy? So it was really a question of having to tell this story as part of the American experience. And so it was a story that I wanted to tell early on, although the very specific moment of the birth of La Bamba in our minds occurred at a very specific time in a very special place. It's the opening night of Zoot Suit on Broadway. And so we're over here by 7th Ave in my brother's dressing room on the 2nd floor. And we're full of ourselves. And at that moment, almost as an answer, we heard music coming from down below. And as it turns out, it was mariachi music. They were playing La Bamba. So my brother Daniel and I looked at each other and we said, La Bamba. So that was the birth of the idea. It was a story that needed to be told. And fate chose us to tell the story.
One of your signs up here on the wall says social justice. So that's what you were fighting for back then. It's 2021, and we're still fighting for social justice. What does that say about who we are as Americans?
Well, I think that you have to consider that injustice is like weeds. You know, they grow in the garden. And no matter what you do, you can clean your garden one day and have it full of weeds, you know, a week or two later. So it's a constant process.
I think this conversation is proof that somebody can become smarter in a half-hour conversation. Thank you, sir. Gracias. I appreciate it.